English language teaching. Under the covers.
Hello and welcome back to ELT Under the Covers, ELT React, where we as English language teaching professionals, we look at the good, the bad and the ugly of the teaching clips on the internet. Today we are following on from our direct methodology video with a react to a direct method teaching company called Berlitz. But first, introductions. I'm Neil of Team Teacher.
Hello everybody, it's Professor Rich.
Okay, Berlitz. Rich, they use direct method. They're a huge conglomerate franchise of a language school. What do you know about them?
I don't really know anything. Is it like you have to say one half of a conversation?
It's like Pillsbury. It's another one of those like audio-lingual approaches, but also it's mixed with direct approach as well. So there's call and response. The classes are all in target environment with 0 L1, and they have their own proprietary materials that you can follow through. It's actually a pretty genius idea that they have, where they have these classes and then you go and buy their materials and you use their materials outside of class to supplement what you've learned in the class, and it's all kind of connected in like this web. I like that. I think that's good. Give you kind of a consistency of teaching, I guess. And basically they have their own kind of way of looking at things. They have a framework, for example, like most people follow the European framework, the A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. But there kind of goes functional, intermediate, advanced, and then they have native level, and that's when you get the golden Super Saiyan hair. But it's also a dynasty as well. So Maximilian Berlitz has it. This is the most interesting part about Berlitz, and it's not actually that related to the language school. But he had a son, Charles, and he carried on with the language learning. But this is how into learning languages and language study Maximilian Berlitz was. So as a child, Charles was raised in a household, and by his father's orders, every relative and servant spoke to Charles in a different language. Okay? So by the time he reached adolescence, he was fluent in 8 languages. And then went on to be, apparently, like his nanny spoke in a different language, his dad spoke in a different language, and he had
this was
super strict about it. Yeah, son Charles. Charles, by the way, who went on to carry on doing the language learning courses, but also became a connoisseur in paranormal phenomenon. As an aside.
Okay. What's a little bit suspicious about that is it doesn't match up with the scientific literature. It's not so simple as just getting grandma and the nanny to speak different languages and suddenly someone learns a language. What you see is that most of the time when people attempt that, it doesn't work. And all you get is someone who knows a few phrases in another language, but they can't really speak it.
Yeah.
But so maybe it was that coupled with the fact that his dad forced him to learn them as well. It may have helped in terms of him recognizing the phonemic sounds of the languages. Maybe just give him a quick leg up. But I imagine it would need to be sort of coupled with something else for it to really work.
Yeah, I myself question the veracity of that little tidbit of history, but I think it's one of those cases where when people say that they're fluent in a language or they speak it fluently, it doesn't necessarily mean that their level is that high. Like when I was in Spain, I would say that I spoke fluently, but the words that I did speak fluently were not particularly, that
Right.
high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah,
could have a
mean,
bit of a
it's
conversation, but it's kind of like talking to a toddler, probably.
It's always ambiguous what you mean, isn't it? So, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, but I just thought that was kind of like a little interesting aside about Maximilian, old Maxi boy, and his kind of mentality and approach with going into the Berlitz, and now it's this international phenomenon. I've known some teachers that have taught with it, and it just sounded very similar to Callan in that it's basically direct and audio-lingual approach, kind of combined, put together, and they have their own little quirky ways of doing classes. They might throw in a reading, or they might supplement it with their own materials or whatever. But basically, it's going to be a whole bunch of pre-scripted stuff and call and response between the teacher and the student. So I'm also wondering, like how much teaching does the teacher actually do, or is it more kind of, are you more of an instructor? That I don't know.
Okay. Well, it's going to be interesting, I guess. I mean, it's super popular still, isn't it? I mean, they're definitely doing something right.
Yeah. And I think you can't really throw the baby out with the bathwater, because there's a reason why it's popular. And, I think one of the things that people like about this stuff is the franchises tend to be the same. It's like it's the McDonald's of language learning. You know what you're going to get. It's often a little bit cheaper because, you're paying for the method and the materials rather than the actual teaching per se. And there's so much of it. You can pick up classes, drop classes, and it doesn't really affect you. You can carry them on and stuff. It can be absorbed more into this big machine that they are. But today we're actually looking at an online class with one of the franchisees in Sofia in Bulgaria.
Okay.
Machka.
What? Is that Bulgarian?
I believe so.
That's Bulgarian for "you slept with my wife." Machka.
Actually, that's not that far off. I think it's like Machka's like hit or strike or something like that.
Sounds like Klingon. It's like the Klingon "now we must fight to the death." Machka.
Hopefully that's
Language
something
is
that they
great,
teach in
aren't
this
they?
class.
All right.
Okay. English at
Hello.
pre-intermediate
Hi
level.
there. We have Ivan and Vero and
Is it an online
Marta.
class?
Yeah.
and today we are going to talk about meeting someone, arranging to meet someone. How many meetings do you have in your
This is
calendar?
pre-intermediate
Vero?
level as
Next-
well.
Let's say on
For 5 meetings.
5 meetings. Okay, and Ivan, what about you? Do you have a meeting on Tuesday?
Not on Tuesday, but I have on Thursday.
Okay, so our goal today is to arrange a meeting with a friend for lunch or for dinner. Are you okay with that? We're going to talk
Yes.
about that. Okay. Let me show you.
Oh, this is some of their
Nothing.
materials.
This is Mr. Simpson's appointment calendar. Great. Now, tell me, does he have a meeting on Tuesday?
Yes, he does.
Okay. What time?
It's 12:30.
Yep, 12:30.
I mean, quite like it so far, but I'm not seeing. It's not clear exactly how much, how it's integrated with the direct method. I mean, it even seems kind of almost like a communicative language controlled practice at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I think this might be some sort of a review because she's not teaching new language at the moment, and they seem familiar with this. So it might be like with the Callum method, what would happen was there would be the lesson would be segmented. So the first part of the class would be a review of the vocabulary they did last class in the form of just asking questions, call and response, and then you would do readings and dictations and stuff, and then you would do new vocab. So I'm wondering if this is like their version where they kind of look at the illustrations, they refamiliarize themselves, and then she's going to introduce a new structure that's related.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I quite like these materials. It's good. It's good materials. I mean, I could take a screenshot of that and use it myself.
It's realia. Oh my god.
And
Is it realia? I mean, it's I don't know. I don't think I'd quite call it realia, but it's good.
how long is the meeting?
1 hour.
Okay, the meeting is 1 hour. Who does he have a meeting with?
He has a meeting with Claudia.
Yes. Is it a meeting or a business lunch?
It's lunch.
Okay, it's lunch. Yep. Okay. How about Wednesday? Does he have a meeting on Wednesday, Mr. Simpson?
Management meeting, room 3A, second floor.
Yes. So does he have a meeting on Wednesday?
Oh, she's repeating
Yes,
it.
he does.
Okay. What's another word in English that we have for a meeting, especially when we talk about dentist?
Appointment.
Okay, appointment. Yes. Let's put it down. Appointment. All right. Can you say that? Appointment?
Appointment.
Okay. Okay. And you have an appointment with someone. All right. It's the same like meeting. Who can you have an appointment with?
The doctor.
Okay. Doctor, dentist,
Lawyer.
lawyer. Yes. Okay. Do you have an appointment with a friend?
No.
That's good.
No.
This is good.
With a friend, you have what?
Meeting.
Yes. With a friend, you have a meeting.
I mean, yeah, that was good. I mean, that was just like the kind of sort of vocabulary inquisition you could see in any communicative language class. So I'm definitely seeing Berlitz does seem to be quite hybrid, doesn't it? It's certainly not direct method as of the 1920s, is it?
No, maybe this is
very
more
much like
maybe this franchise is a little bit more, modern. They use more modern communicative language lessons.
Well, it looks like she's using the official materials, though.
Yeah.
So that would imply to me that the whole system is kind of
That's true.
modernized a bit.
All right. So, Ivan, are you talking to me right now?
Yes, I'm talking to you.
Are you listening to me?
I am listening.
Yeah, I
to
mean
you.
that's definitely from a script, isn't it? So to some extent there's some direct methody stuff in there.
Yes.
Okay. Is Vera listening to me now?
Most probably yes.
Okay. So,
Nice
so
answer.
can you say the whole sentence? She is.
She is
There you go.
listening to you.
Okay. Vera, am I asking Ivan a question?
I'm asking him a question.
Okay. Am I talking to both of you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You're talking to both of us.
All right. And who are you listening to?
I'm listening to you.
Okay. Now, is the receptionist at Vermont Company, is the receptionist talking
Okay.
to us, or she's talking to Mr. Bennett.
You know, one of the things I quite like the materials and stuff. One of the things that I'd criticised so far, and I think it's probably a genuine criticism, is it seems like the transition is a bit weird. Like the fact that, okay, she did a bit of review of some language, looking at a calendar, very good. And then suddenly she sort of transitioned to just randomly practicing, like, am I talking to you? Are you listening to me? Is she listening to me? You know, okay, that's good. That's very direct method. But it just seemed a bit odd, the transition. And then she suddenly brought this up, which seems to be going back to appointments. I don't know for certain yet. But, I mean, couldn't she have said something like, okay, now we're going to look at an office, you know, an office called Fairmont Officers or whatever. You know, I don't know. It feels a bit like, okay, next activity, next activity, next activity. Like, I'd like there to be a bit more connection. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, like how it first started off, it actually kind of, as you pointed out, it had a bit of a CLT feel to it, especially when she's going over and introducing vocabulary and doing some quasi, I guess, CCQs. But so, and you know, they seem to respond in there, but then it does do this jarring transition, and then it's almost like she switches off because it goes robotic, and then the method takes over, and he gives that perfectly fine response, but it's not the response that she's looking for. Yeah, so she cuts him off and makes him and you know, like I actually liked his other and it's what we talked about in the methodology video, is especially when you get to higher levels, even like pre-intermediate, which this class is, it cuts off the creative aspect of language, or the more personalized aspect, where you have your own different ways of approaching this. He might be a little bit sarcastic. And you know, that was a bit of a stupid question, you know, and I could be like, that definitely deserves a bit of a sarky response.
I think so. Yeah. So it's exactly what you said. It's kind of like she's sort of almost switched off a little bit and going with the script. And it was a shame, because actually, right at the start, she was like super personable.
Yeah.
Wasn't she? Like, she was super personable and actually quite likable as a teacher, you know. And now she's kind of like, okay, now we're going to do the script. Everybody, come on. No, that's not the response I wanted. Okay, let's see where she goes.
Him.
The receptionist is talking to him.
Yes, the receptionist is talking to him. Is she talking to us?
No.
No, she isn't. Okay.
No, she isn't.
Mm-hmm. Am I meeting with you, Vera, next Monday?
No.
No. What day are you meeting with your clients?
Why does she use full responses there? That's what gets me. It's very inconsistent.
She let it go there.
Yeah, it's very inconsistent.
On Tuesday and on Wednesday.
It's classic kind of direct method, isn't it?
So can you say, I'm meeting with...
This is kind of an aside as well, but I hate the way that she navigates her materials. I'm sure that lots of teachers have this problem, though. But, I never want to be screen sharing when I'm, like, scrolling around and stuff like that. You know, I always just want it to be there. Here you go, top tip. Top tip for people who teach.
Here we go.
Technically. First of all, just use some whiteboard software that you can paste into, that you can put images into, right? That you can paste from the clipboard. And what you want to do is get all the materials you're going to use for the class, and then you can simply hold down Shift, Windows key, and S, and that will bring up the snippet tool, which lets you draw a box around anything on your screen. And then you can use CTRL and V together, which will paste it into your whiteboard software. So all of this PDFs and stuff that she's getting up, she could just, before the class, Shift, Windows key S, and then she can draw a box around it, easy peasy, and then click on her whiteboard software, CTRL and V, and that will paste it as an image into the whiteboard software. And she could just do that with all these little bits. So she wouldn't have to go scrolling around these PDFs. She'd just have it all ready in a document, in a whiteboard document. It'll take 3 minutes to prepare. So yeah, and it would eliminate this problem where she's like looking for stuff. You can even like almost sense. We'll just go back. You can almost like sense a little bit of like teacher panic. You know, almost like the teacher flicking through the textbook, looking for the next activity. Like just pay attention to that. Just to get a feeling for that.
On Tuesday
Okay.
and Wednesday.
Look at the
On
way she's
Tuesday
scrolling and look at her
on
eyes.
Wednesday.
She's kind of like, shit,
Okay.
where's the next page? Where's the next page?
So can you say a meeting with?
And she's trying to like keep talking while she's looking for it.
That would also explain why she's, missing out on getting them to say the long sentences and stuff, because she's like, oh, yeah, because she's focused on the materials. Oh, okay, that's a good point. Very good point.
Excellent. A meeting
I'm
with
meeting
them.
with them
Yes.
on
It's-
Tuesday and
It's
Wednesday.
a tough bit of
Yes,
criticism,
meeting-
honestly, and it's the kind of thing that's, it's not massive, but it would be advice to anyone who's teaching regularly using technology. Just learn how to use the snippet tool and paste it all into a prepared flip chart or whiteboard or PowerPoint if you prefer. I hate using PowerPoint to teach, but whatever you want.
Meeting with them on
So many
Tuesday and
whiteboard software
Wednesday.
now.
Okay. Let's read now these dialogues, and then we'll try to make similar dialogues. All right. Let's have the
See,
Ivan.
that transition was horrible. It's like, okay, great. Now let's read these dialogues and try and make similar dialogues.
Yeah.
It's like, what? I mean, yeah, I can see the relationship here, but God, it was so
and
disjointed.
better read the
wasn't
first
it?
dialogue.
Hello, Rina.
Sorry.
Okay, you go first.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, it makes sense. Okay, maybe Ivan, you start first because
Yeah, your view.
Well, the
Jenkins.
teacher should be the one that's going, you are blah, you are blah.
Yeah, yeah. Even if she just said, okay, here's some dialogues that are similar to the ones we just practiced. Just anything. It just makes it a bit smoother, I think, to transition rather than now let's practice these dialogues. So just, look, here's some dialogues just like we just practiced. And then, yeah, of course, Yvonne, you're A, Sheila, you're B. All right, off you go, kids. These dialogues should have A and B on them as well.
Yeah.
Hello, Rina. This is Bill Jenkins. Can we meet next week?
Sure, let's see. I'm free on Tuesday morning from 8:30 to 9:30.
Tuesday morning isn't good for me. How about Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock?
Fine. See you Tuesday at 1 o'clock.
What's with the colouring on this? That really confused me. I didn't realise that was the same conversation.
I don't
I
know.
thought this was 4 conversations, but actually it's not 4 conversations.
It's just
is
two,
it?
isn't it?
Let's see a minute. I'm sure. How about Friday? Yeah, it is. It's just 2 conversations like that. That's weird. Is it something you're supposed to photocopy and then cut out and match them or something?
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
Oh.
It says a slide. I don't know. It's weird. Really confusing.
Okay, well done.
That's not her
Excellent.
fault. That's Berlitz material.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. I wanted to make now similar conversations between you two using these expressions. Okay. So our goal of the lesson was to make an appointment, you remember, to make a meeting with your friend. I want you to try and make a meeting now using all those expressions. Okay, I'll keep the board for you just to check them. All right, you could.
I don't understand. What? Using all those expressions?
So she's wanting to have them come up with their own dialogue,
Yes.
but instead of copying and pasting that dialogue that we've just seen and kind of like blanking it out for them to personalize it, she's taken, it looks like, what she considers the important parts of the dialogue and put it in this format. But it's a little bit confusing.
It's really confusing. I mean, on the left, it looks like a sort of a kind of breakdown of the different uses of the different forms of can. And then on the right, it just seems like an entire conversation that's got everything, isn't it? Is Friday good for you? Yeah, that's fine. Oh, sorry, I can't. Perfect, great, see you there. Oh, I think she just means that bit. That can and can't bit. I think is that just the I don't know. I'm a bit
Oh,
confused. But
let's spin and see what she does.
I feel like I feel like she's giving them too much, though.
You can use your real names, or you can invent some personalities.
It's confusing.
Okay, let's try.
Hi, Van.
Imagine, see, imagine if they did just invent a personality now. Like, I'm the real Ripper.
Or there's like, yeah,
She says, "Hi, Ivan. Can I?" And he's like, "I'm not Ivan.
yeah, or
Batman."
he gets really sarcastic and he's like, yeah, I'm the president and of the United States and I don't take meetings, refer to my secretary or something.
Can we meet for lunch on Tuesday?
Let me check. I'm busy on Tuesday, but maybe we can meet on Wednesday.
I love the language they're using, but it's nothing to do with the stuff she's put on the board.
Yeah, I know, that's...
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't meet on
Got
Wednesday.
one. I'm sorry, I can't.
How about Thursday? Can we meet on Thursday?
Oh, well, how about Friday? Because on Thursday I'm quite busy.
Great
Oh,
language. It's not on the board.
well,
Fantastic.
Friday is not good for me. I have a day off.
I don't want to spend it with you.
How about Saturday? Can we meet on Saturday?
Perfect, great. So let's see each other on Saturday then.
Oh, great. See you there on Saturday.
See you. 12 o'clock is good for you?
Yes, perfect.
Super.
Okay, well done, excellent. Okay, so this was the goal of our lesson today, to arrange a meeting with a friend. How do you feel now? Can you do that? Can you arrange a meeting with a friend?
Stop it. Okay, I've got a few things I want to say.
Yeah, let's jump out
Let's
of
just
this.
let's just see her sign off first.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot. And thank you for being here and taking part in this online Berlitz lesson.
Okay. Do we have it? Oh no, this is the official Berlitz channel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the official channel. This is... So the stuff that they've put out on here, I would presume, is also kind of a little bit contrived and for marketing, advertising purposes properly.
Yeah,
probably.
but it's not that good. So I've got 1,000,001 things I want to say, and I know that we're going to quickly sort of run out of time. So let me just say a few things first. First of all, if the teacher who was on there ever sees this video, then I'll do my best to be polite here, and it would be lovely if you would come on and speak to us. I think there's a lot of interesting things to see in your teaching there, and I'm sure there's a reason for some of the things I'm going to criticise now. So first of all, we didn't actually see a lesson there. We saw part of a lesson, I imagine. So I might just be tempted to give her the benefit of the doubt when at the end she said, "So do you know how to arrange a meeting now?" As if they didn't at the start. Because surely you're not trying to tell us that in 8 minutes you just taught them all that, because you obviously didn't. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. Maybe it would have been better to say, do you feel better able to organise a meeting? Now, what she was doing there at the end is she's doing a reflection question, and it's something that you often do when you're getting observed, and the observer will often say, how do you know that your objectives were achieved? And the best way of doing that is getting the students to actually do your objective, and then you can say, well, they did it. But another way of doing it is to say to the students, it's a really cheesy way of doing it. It's like you say to the students, like, can you do this now? And the students go, yes, I can. Even better, you give them a little tick box, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing is that students will almost always say yes, that they can. And if they actually say no, it's like a catastrophe, isn't it? Can you imagine right at the end of your class, you say, right, the whole class has been about X. Can you X now? And they're like, no, I haven't got a clue. It's like, it's going to make you look like a right twat, isn't it? And it's like, where are you going to go from there as well? So I really don't think it's a great question. A good way of doing it is if you have a little form, and you have you have like I can and the statement of what they were learning, like I can arrange a meeting in English, and you have like strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree, something like that, or like how comfortable do you feel organizing a meeting in English, and then you have really happy, quite happy, not so happy, kind of unhappy, right? Do it like that. So then at least they've got an option. Like they can kind of go, oh, I feel okay about it, which is basically an indication to you that you didn't do a good job, or your lesson aim was inappropriate, right? And it gives you an out rather than saying, can you do it? And they say no, and you go, oh, well, I guess you're screwed then because the lesson's over. So I don't like that. I didn't like that. And it was very box ticking, I thought. And there's no way you could teach someone how to arrange a meeting in English in 8 minutes. No one, not unless they're, really already not unless they can pretty much already do it, is the point. And if they can already do it, then what the hell are you teaching them? No, you're teaching them to better be able to do it. And then that's why we want that scale of how comfortable they feel. Now, just before that, she showed some language. I used to call this useful language. They have it in the English file books. They have a little box, and Cutting Edge as well, and loads of materials. And they have a little box that says useful language. So you'll have a task or a discussion, and they'll just have this horrible little box that says useful language. And it's kind of like, it's sort of like saying, well, it's a weird thing because the whole thing about communicative language teaching, which, by the way, I do believe that this was kind of a hybrid of direct method and communicative language teaching, because that activity at the end was very sort of communicative language teaching practice activity.
Yeah,
so
it was open.
Even kind of not totally free of practice, but kind of free of practice with some encouragement. And that's always the problem I've had with those useful language boxes, because they're based around a CLT idea, right? But it's like, the whole CLT thing is supposed to be the communicative task at the end is supposed to be totally free. Like you make it as authentic as possible. You don't put restrictions on it. And if that's the case, then what the hell is the useful language box? Because in real life, you don't get a useful language box popping up and someone saying, hey, use this. That isn't what happens, is it? So it's bringing in an element of something synthetic. And I don't think there's a completely authentic way of doing that. I think what you have to do is you have to teach it, you have to treat it as a kind of semi-controlled practice. So you have to admit, look, this isn't going to be the final activity. There's going to be another one after this, which will be totally free with no crutches. But this is actually our freer practice. And then what you do is make it more controlled. Because at the moment, it's not controlled enough that they'll actually use the useful language. Why would they use it? They didn't need to use it. They had their own language. They did not need the language that was on the board. So they didn't use it, actually, if you listen. They only said one of those phrases. She said, I'm sorry, I can't. That's the only one they said off the board. There was also a bit of we can or whatever, but irrelevant. They mainly use their own resources. So why the hell would they use those on the board? And if they did, it would actually be making their language more synthetic. So what you do is you make it more controlled. What does that mean? Give them a useful language. Give them a point system, right? Ideally, you want three students, the two that are speaking and the judge who awards points, and you swap them around, right? And as they're talking, they get a point every time they use one of the new awesome phrases. Obviously, this is controlled. Obviously, it's synthetic, but it's a controlled practice, and you're getting them to use the phrases. What happens? You do round one with the phrases on the board. Okay, how many points? Who's winning? Oh, interesting. Okay. Now we're going to go to round two. I'm going to rub out one word in every phrase. Okay, round three, rub out 2 words. Round 4, all the phrases are gone, but you still get points for using them. You see? And then, after you've done that, you've done your 4 rounds of controlled practice, then you go to freer practice, and you say, use whatever the hell language you want, and now we're going to do a role play of booking something. It's good if you can make the freer practice a slightly different task, because it gets bloody boring otherwise, right? But yeah, that's the way I would do it. So if you're going to use this useful languages, don't pretend it's a freer practice. Make it a controlled practice, and then give the students a motivation, a reason, a restriction, which means they will damn well use that language, or at least you'll heavily encourage them to do it with points or whatever. So that would be what I'd say about that end thing. And you know, that's nothing. This is nothing to do with direct method, because this is, in my opinion, that last activity was just a controlled practice of communicative language teaching.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if it's reflective on Berlitz, because, do you know, when we're looking at these direct method companies and these audiolingual kind of language learning, franchises, conglomerates, whatever you want to call them, they all have their own materials, so it all should be samey. And that's one of the things that's that draws people to them. With that one, it kind of almost feels like she was Breaking Bad, because that the end of the end sheet didn't look like materials. So I'm wondering, like if that's something that she's improvised or put on the end. And I think it's going to be a question we're not really going to get an answer for.
But it can't be, because it's Berlitz Sophia. It's on their official YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And if you actually look at their YouTube channel, it's the most viewed video, and they've only got like 10 videos on there. So I don't think so. I think this is what they do.
Right.
I just wonder if Berlitz is kind of a little bit hybrid these days, because they know that, they don't, maybe they think, a direct method's a little bit like, old-fashioned, and they bring these communities. It'd be really interesting to find out.
Yeah.
If anyone out there's a Berlitz teacher, you want to come in and talk about it?
Yeah, let us know, or even former teachers where you don't feel and that your NDA has elapsed and you feel that you're more freely able to talk without being assassinated. Then yeah, sure, we'd love to have you on. But yeah, I agree. And the thing is, they should be. It kind of felt slapped together at the end, and it shouldn't feel that way.
All throughout, I think it
shouldn't. All of this shouldn't feel that way, because it should be a well-oiled machine. I mean, when I've worked in the machine, I've not really had to think about or prep that much stuff apart from familiarizing myself with the materials, and it's always pretty seamless. It's just I'm a clog in this big, machine that's going along and trundling and teaching and everything. And yeah, I didn't feel that with that. Maybe because it was like put together because it was moved online or something like that. There's some teething problems, but I don't think it was an accurate reflection of what you would see in a Berlitz class. I think the part that you would see in the Berlitz class would be those illustrations, plus when she's doing the call and response, and she probably, I would imagine her pointing to different parts, different people on the illustration when they're in the office. Is he meeting with he? No, she's not, and getting them to do the full sentence rather than going yes, no, which they did, and they let slide, which I was really surprised by. And more of the beginning when they had the plan of the agenda out, and they're asking each other questions. I actually thought that would have worked better at the end, where they would just. That could be part of a more freer practice if they just had the schedule up and then some dialogues with dialogue structures for them to use between, and they would just switch roles. So one person would be like the secretary, the other person would be the person that's trying to make an appointment, and then that's what I thought was going to happen, and that's what I thought was going to happen at the end. I thought they would at least have those little dialogue boxes or something. But yeah, it was totally language that they already knew. So, and that's why I think this was more of a way to kind of market Berlitz than to actually show what actually happens in a class. And unfortunately, I think he kind of blowed back against them, because I think if they would have shown how an actual class went, warts and all, it would have been better than trying to actually contrive this one and probably choose students that were maybe not pre-intermediate. I think those students maybe was a little bit more, and then they were asked to go and do this simple class, and then you see all these inconsistencies, because how can you even say to them that you learned anything from that, because they already knew it, and it was very apparent.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, well, it obviously does fool some people, because they got 5,000 views, mainly upvotes, and there's comments being like, Oh yes, it was so well contextualized.
So well contextualized. Oh,
Yeah,
what,
someone
the
said
illustrations or something like that? Yeah.
Yes, so yeah, and the fact that it wasn't just completely out of nowhere, I guess, is the only thing I could say about that. Yeah, it wasn't the worst example of teaching in the world. You know, we've seen worse. But
I just would have imagined seeing more speaking practice and more rote speaking practice, and you know, the guiding of that, and it wasn't there. So you know, we'll have a look, and if you're watching this and you are familiar with Berlitz, you've got some Berlitz videos of in-class teaching, you know, please send them to us and we can have a look at them, and you know, maybe we'll get a better or clearer idea of what it would look like in a classroom. Or if you've got any ones of Berlitz teaching online that you think are better and more true to the method, let us know in the comments below on eltunderthecovers@gmail.com. And if you are a Berlitz teacher or you've studied with Berlitz and you have your own thoughts, again, leave those comments, or you can come on the show. If you're looking for more information from myself, you can go to teamteacherchina.com. We've got a whole bunch of materials, PowerPoints that you can use instantly in the classroom. We've got a Team Teacher China YouTube channel where we have videos teaching you how to use those materials. Team Teacher English, where we put those materials into a video form for self-study. And Team Teacher Baby, where I take my experience as a teacher and put that into parenting.
And go to youtube.com/Professor Rich to see some English teaching. You can catch me weekly live streams on Oxford Online English YouTube channel. Oh, and also you can do a YouTube search for POG space UK, and you would get my alpha version of my new gaming channel, which actually just have some trial content on there at the moment. You can email us here at eltunderthecovers@gmail.com if you have anything you'd like to contribute to the show.
Smash that like button, share and subscribe.
And watch 100% of the video and don't click
Exactly.
off. Thank you.
Bye.